And look at this. And this is something I really want you to see. Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, I did do a full review, including the runs of, I think we're now up to like 7 or 8 other amazing players, actually, of me, and then 8 amazing players, all using a diversity of champions, teams to get through the gauntlet. It is in the spreadsheet there, so you can check that out and you can formulate your own team. I will link that video later in the and it will be in the description. It'll be at the end of this video as well. I highly suggest checking that out because there's a spreadsheet that I am continuously updating as more of these players that I know are reporting to me their runs, who they used, and their revives. That being said, I have footage of my run, and I'm going to go over my absolute 4 MVPs. These were Archangel, Professor X, Apocalypse, and actually Cable. We're starting off today. We're going to start off with Archangel. We're going to go over 5 fights. I'm sure it's been in the description and probably in the thumbnail. The ones highlighting what I think were the toughest fights or the fights that I've been getting a lot of comments that people struggled with. Big intro. Let's get into this. All right, this first fight started off Gauntlet incredibly against this Doom. There's Bubble Shield, Particle Protector, Micro Reflect Size Matters. For me, I knew I was going to be bringing in Archangel anyway. Being able to just parry and heavy, knowing I have the SP1 evade, meant that this really should not be a big issue. Let's check this out. So, you know, the things to be worrying about here, right, is if Doom is able to do his aura, which we will be able to turn off if we can get to 3 neurotoxins. If you're not familiar with my team, you haven't checked out my full review video, don't worry about it. We'll get into this. I'll describe a little bit about what's going on. I did decide to bring in the White Magneto, I decided to bring in White Magneto instead of Red Magneto. I do kind of regret that, and I talked about that a little bit in the full review video. I do suggest watching it. But did get some benefits of not bringing in the red. I was going to bring in the red. There's a few fights I wish I had the Red Magneto for. This is a fight where I was really happy to have White Magneto, right? He's has that synergy. I think it's called like Atonement or something like that. It's increasing the attack and ability accuracy of Metal and Hero champions. I think that's part of why I was able to get so many neuros going, so many bleeds, so many poisons, that sort of thing. And then as you see here, like how quickly this fight, we're 33 seconds into it. Doom is at 58% health. I just got to have this SP1 evade down. I think in this fight, I think there might be one that I kind of messed up. I don't really recall, but I have the SP1 evade down. I didn't want to really let him get to that SP2, so just get the SP1 down. As you see, because I have up all these neurotoxins, now my Archangel is SIG like 140, 160, something like that. I've pulled him a couple times, but I took him up to SIG 121, which means that the ability accuracy of the defender of the node will be reduced by, I think it's 100%, or just over 100%, if I get 3 neuros up. You can see those neuros doing the work. Decided to kind of play it safe here. Once I knew the stuns were really gonna come on, just come on, get another little hit. I'm pretty content with this. You know, I'm gonna end this fight with, I think, about 50% health. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting pretty hard, Doom is. But the damage I'm able to put forth was immense, and being able to not have to deal with the aura too much was really great, really helpful. So Doom down, great start to the gauntlet for me, and then we'll be moving on to the next one. So this next one was against Modok. I know this was a difficult fight for a lot of people. As I'm looking at the spreadsheet right now. Some people use Magneto, Quake. It's Magneto and Quake over and over and over. And then my buddy Meta also used AA. So we have this stun vulnerability, which works in really well for Archangel, right? The maximum flux. This is the sort of thing that makes this difficult for if you're going to be using like a Falcon or something like that. I know a lot of folks want to use him, but a lot of the nodes in fights where I think you would be using him, they either have increased ability accuracy or you can't turn off their ability accuracy. It's the downside to Falcon. He's a great champion. He's amazing. He's awesome. It's just, you know, the downside to him. So this has the hard knock life, and this is what I think can give people some trouble. Every time the attacker performs successful all-time block, they gain a passive disorient, reducing ability accuracy and block proficiency by 200%. One thing to keep in mind is that that actually can work for Archangel, right? I know folks are like, no, he's supposed to be immune to these sorts of things. He's immune to it from the defender's abilities, not from nodes. I learned that the hard way a few months ago. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye on, meaning if you have that passive disorient on you. All right, so we're going to be heading in. Just got to be aware of the disorient. I'm going to try not to let that really build up. I think 1 or 2 is really not a big deal. The timer's not that long on it. So if you play a certain way, you'll be all right. Or you can also have Archangel get up to 5 neurotoxins super quick like that. And as you see, I'm landing parries and I'm not even getting the disorient. I mean, he's amazing. He can just turn this stuff off because he does continue. He goes above the 100% ability accuracy reduction, right? So you can see Modok has really just got no options for me. I'm a little scared of Modok's SP2, and I remember at this moment in the fight thinking like, just go in, finish this dude off. But it is what it is. I waited it out, and really no harm's going to come from it. We're already back up to 3 neurotoxins here, so for the most part, things should be turned off. We did see the plus flux there on the node, so I wanted to be smart about it. If you go in, you do this fight, and you don't have the 3 neuros up, try your best to not get above the 2 disorients is what I would say. And then always wait and make sure your parries land. They're not gonna, this doesn't have limber. You know, this isn't Alliance War where he may have been placed with limber or something like that. You got an extra like half a second or something. So just make sure you got the disorient on, I'm sorry, the parry on. Try not to get too many disorients to add up. And then this fight, which has been difficult for people. I've seen that in the comment section. You got it down. You got yourself a nice solo, use a few health pots if you want to, and you're ready for the next fight. Okay, so we're moving on. This next fight was against Weapon X. There's nothing that makes him, you know, if you know how to fight Weapon X, you should be fine with this fight. I know some people have used this fight to actually ramp up their Aegon. Makes a lot of sense, right? Because it even says in Weapon X's description that when he goes into it's like Rage or Berserker or whatever, he will even fight more aggressively. So draft back intercepting becomes not too bad. That being said, he is still difficult, right? And he has the ability to put out a tremendous amount of damage and just destroy you if you make even the slightest mistake. So I'm going to be definitely doing the parry and heavy. I'm going to be really aware and mindful of his rage stacks. I think that's what they're called. It's the green passive thing there. Now, I know that I think because he's above 15, if he throws a special, he's going to trigger it. There we go. He's in his Berserker Rage. And so what you're going to see me do here over and over is I'm going to backdraft intercept him until I can get him over a bar of power. I will be continuously throwing my SP1 to just try to make sure I've pushed him over that bar of power or setting up the backdraft intercept because he will dive in. You can see him continuously do this. And then I want him over the bar of power to give me the opportunity to go in and punish him and make sure I don't have to block. So at this point, I don't even mind that he's staying in rage, right? Like, as you can see, because I'm continuously hitting him, I'm kind of extending how long this rage or berserker mode is staying. But it actually works out really well for you. It's really awesome. I got extremely comfortable fighting him a few war seasons ago, and then I got to take him a lot this last war season. And most of those fights, I got to the point where I was like, I think my record was like 28 seconds, 32 seconds. I don't know. The longer we get from the war season, the shorter that record becomes. I think I'm down to, in a few months, you guys will hear me say it was 15 seconds. But all jokes aside, you just kind of repeat that over and over. You see that he eventually will come out of the berserker mode. And then you just start the process over again. You just start the process over again. When he can get up to the 15 of those stacks, that's when you really want to pay attention. I think it's the SP1. It might be all specials, but I think it's the SP1. Adds 5 on, so when he gets close, keep in mind, he might throw that special and then go into the Berserker where he becomes unblockable. And then it's actually a much more fun fight when he is unblockable and in the Berserker because he becomes aggressive. Just a series of backdraft intercepts like you're seeing right there. See, I should throw my special. No, I just did the backdraft, and I should throw the special to get him back over the single bar of power, and then just rinse and repeat, and you got yourself a nice, easy solo. If you did choose to use Aegon, who I know he can do a lot of great things, and I love Aegon, but we're not seeing tremendous success with him. Not that it can't happen. There's some amazing players who I'm sure are making that work, but I'm talking to more players who are saying I took in Aegon, kind of regret it. I think we could have worked it out better, but if that's your best option, this is a great fight to ramp him up on. Even the players who are saying they kind of regret bringing in Aegon are saying, I was happy with that. All right, moving into this Black Panther fight. This one's pretty funny. Because I completely misread this node. I knew there'd be Footloose. I knew there'd be this arc overload. And even though we've seen this combo before or this sort of result, I don't know. I was not thinking about how he's going to be passively unblockable. I was just thinking about how he's going to deal with his armor up. So you're going to see me get smacked around here a little bit. I did use the White Magneto pre-fight. Wasn't even totally sure it could help me, but I had brought White Magneto. I figured might as well use these pre-fights. Went ahead and used it. I thought this was just going to be a simple parry heavy, and that I would eventually turn off the node so Footloose wouldn't even occur many times. But you see here, I've gotten smacked in the face. I think I still am not totally even sure what exactly has happened. Maybe I already did. Maybe I did figure it out that quickly. I know it took me a few seconds there, and I knew I got smacked up, but I couldn't remember how bad it was. And so now at this point, it's going to be very similar for me to the Weapon X fight you just saw, in that my main goal is going to be to push him over a bar of power. I will try to do some backdraft intercepting if and when I can, or some of those just straight up intercepts. You see I got kind of punished there for it, but I'm going to try to continuously push him over a bar of power. See right there, this is really good. I got him close to the second bar of power. I'm then going to land the parries when I can to try to get the neuros up, and if I can turn off the node, that's going to be the best thing that can possibly happen for me, right? Because I don't have to worry about Footloose, and I don't have to worry about him going unblockable. When he is unblockable, I'm going to do my best to bait the specials, to push him over a single bar, or over the second bar, or just ideally even just close up to the full second bar, so that way when he throws that SP1, it's really easy to push him right back over the first bar of power. Use my own specials to manipulate his power to try to get him over. And then of course, as I've mentioned many times before, and as I'm sure you're used to if you've been playing Archangel, I am going to use my specials to my advantage, get those neurotoxins up, and it just becomes a simple rinse and repeat at this point. As you can see there, the evade got turned off, but not the unstoppable. So if you're using Archangel, keep an eye out for that, right? We're really excited because we're like, oh, cool, I can just go and attack. Well, he's unstoppable. That's not going to work out so well. And just do this over and over. So I should bait this SP1. Unfortunately, the full node did trigger. I didn't have up any neuros, but now I can just wait until he has no armor up, land my parry. There we go. Let's bait this SP1. Oh, I did. I punished the heavy, so that was cool. You can do that too. And I remember in the fight that getting that sense where, you know, if I hold block a little bit, you can almost bait the heavy without having to just sit there holding block the whole time. Obviously, with them being unblockable, you don't want him to come in and hit you because he's not going to throw his heavy. He's just going to hit you through your block. But you can do that slight little that holding of your own block. I think you know what I'm talking about. You kind of like can feel that it's going to work, and then you can bait them into throwing their own heavy. And then this fight's down. So you just kind of get that rhythm with it. It really wasn't that bad. It was, again, pretty enjoyable. It was enjoyable to need to intercept and to, again, just kind of have my eye on the opponent's power bar, pushing them over, and then landing my parries when he did not have his armor up. I really did enjoy that, actually. And it was fun to kind of figure it out in there. Now, this one was an interesting one. I know a lot of folks have struggled with Mojo. As far as who's been used for him, I'm seeing MCoC. I think that was a really smart call. Not surprised it was DL who made it. J-Nick used Ghost. We're seeing Torch being used. Torch makes a ton of sense to me with Mojo being a mystic. Here's what makes this kind of difficult, right? Is that they're saying every 20 seconds, Mojo's just going to complete one of his prompts. No matter what you do, that's just going to happen. And as you know from fighting Mojo, him completing his prompts can become a real problem. And then there's this staggering beauty. So while you're close to the defender, the attacker will gain a stagger every 3 seconds, and they'll find the next buff. And that's one of the things that triggers for Mojo and his abilities is when a stagger prevents the buff from happening. It's not exactly dispersion, but it kind of has a similar beneficial effect. So ideally what I was going to do, going with Archangel, as usual, hopefully just turn this node off. Once I get up to 3, I know that now I'm kind of just fighting Mojo. I'm going to do my best to bait his SP1s while trying to be semi-mindful of the fact that in doing so, I would potentially be triggering dexterity. I did not have a ton of faith that I was going to get the solo, which is kind of unfortunate here because you see I went into this fight with only 51% health. A lot of it, and this is one of the things I do want to caution everyone on, when you see how many revives people use, you have to keep in mind what was their goal, right? There was a couple times where I used full team revives because it just made sense for me. I had more team revives saved up. So sometimes, yeah, I took, I think it was like Vision. I ended up using like my whole team to take him down. I used White Magneto, but I ended up using like my whole team. But I did that because I had full team revives, and it just made sense to me to use my team that way. So if you see it took someone 5 revives or something like that, make sure you keep in mind that it's not necessarily a sign of how hard the fight necessarily was or how poorly they did against it. It just might have been their strategic, efficient play. Anyways, back to this. As you can see, the damage we're able to do is pretty incredible. Staying patient, I am pretty comfortable with Mojo, having fought him many times before. I do have that stagger on me. There's not a ton I'm going to be able to do about it. I am degenning. And look at this. And this is something I really want you to see. It's how much damage Archangel can push out and how well he can handle this for you. We've got all the neuros up. So we now know things are in our favor as far as the node and ability and things like that. We were at 17%. Mojo, I think, was at about 62 when I started talking about this. This is starting to go exceptionally well in our favor. If Mojo was a real person, he'd be getting pretty worried, right? We are just melting him. The melt is on. The neuros are doing their job. The biggest issue with this, and the biggest issue I felt with Archangel in this content at all, was that the health pools are so big that you do often find yourself in that situation of the neuros are getting a chance to actually expire. And then do you go in and punish, or do you kind of just have to maybe let them fall off a little bit? As you can see, I think it's the second or third fight where it's very clear I chose to let them fall off and then just kind of restart the fight. The good news is, if you already know how to get the fight going and get your neuros up, it's really not that hard to then do it again, as you're seeing right here. Clearly, if I had just played a little bit better in the beginning, I would not need to lose that much health. We've just traded about 50% of his health for 10 of mine. I started this fight off with 51%. And at this point, I was determined. I really just wanted that solo, so I'm going to stay away from him. Let these neuros do their job. So you can kind of stay away from Mojo. It'll help you, prevent you from getting those big getting all those staggers on. I did do a little bit of that. I tried to bait the SP1, but not at the point of like getting the dexterity and then hitting him and getting it off. So like, if you get the dexterity, just kind of deal with it, I think is the way I would say handling it. There's a couple SP2s there. I just chose to block them. And then Archangel, with the damage he has, will eventually get that down. This was a rank 3 Archangel. I never did take him to, I never did make him a horseman or anything like that. So that's just him, what he can do with the White Magneto synergy. He's incredible. I know those fights were very difficult for a lot of us, right? These are difficult fights, and you kind of have to pick your team and where are you going to have these trouble spots. Ideally, I would have brought in Red Magneto, but check out my full review video if you have not seen it. I'm sure it's going to be linked here at the end of this. And then check out that spreadsheet and check out the other players who have given me their teams. They've listed them. Check those guys out. They have great channels. I really cannot compliment them enough, and I watch them. It helps me become a better player. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know how these fights worked out for you. If you decided to use Archangel, or if you didn't, why? Why did you not? Obviously, a lot of times it's because you didn't have them. But if you do have them, why did you potentially choose not to use them? And what other fights did he work well for you? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you either learned something, were entertained, or even better, a little bit of both. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.